Our modern world runs on connection. Yet we rarely ask what those connections cost. Every day, we're surrounded by invisible forces. They connect us, but also affect us.
My head gets hot and my hand gets hot and I'm like always on the phone, unfortunately. I chart from my phone, I'm in my car on my phone.
Honestly, I'm sitting in front of my computer 24/7. I want my headaches to go away from staring at the screen.
We've engineered faster communication between devices, but never found a way to maintain our health alongside it. Until now.
Aries is here in Venice for the first stop of the BrainWave Tour, where we bring the Aries effect to you. Most people really don't think about how technology is impacting their health. That's what the BrainWave Tour is all about. It's about bringing the Aries effect to everyday people and showing you live in real time how Aries really works. So today we randomly selected 2 of our guests to get a brain scan to see Aries effect live in real time. Wait, how did you even find out about this?
I've watched you guys on Instagram for quite some time.
What kind of nurse are you?
I'm in hospice.
Oh, okay.
I'm a professional airline pilot.
Okay.
Been doing it for 20 years. I've been aware of EMFs for at least 5 years at a minimum.
Hi, Hannah.
Nick.
Nice to meet you.
This is Dr. Dogres. This is Alex.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
How many hours, just out of curiosity, like how many hours are you flying a week, do you think?
A week? Well, it varies for lots of reasons, but I would say roughly 20 hours actual flight time in a week.
I'm always on my phone. I feel like I can almost feel it, like at times, like my head gets hot and my hand gets hot and I'm like always on the phone, unfortunately. I chart from my phone, I'm in my car on my phone. I carry phones and tablets with me, they're like on my body. When I'm not at home, I wear my watch because my kids might need me and I don't necessarily have my personal phone on loud if I'm like with a sick patient. So rather than try to reduce them, I want to find a way to like negate them or help with them rather than like turning the power off to my house overnight.
You know, different devices around you can hit the brain, and the brain doesn't create square waves. All right, and so when you hit that system with a square wave, it's going to respond to it, and usually you'll experience increased blood flow. You'll see changes in metabolic function. You'll see changes in, it can create what's called more high beta in the brain, so like more fast wave activity, and that can elicit more anxiety. And so there's all sorts of, when you see people experience insomnia, right, from blue light exposure, prolonged blue light exposure, and then, the square waves coming out of the device itself, both of those are a recipe for insomnia. Have you ever had an EEG before?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
EKG, but not an EEG.
The first phone is not going to have any Aries tech available.
Okay.
Okay. And so you're going to hold it up to your head for 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. And it'll be a connected call.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're going to end the call, take away the phone, and then measure you again for 5 minutes. The next time we're going to do another phone call, but this time we'll have Aries present.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll have that up to your head, 5 minutes, connect the call, end the call, and then measure you again.
Awesome.
All right, that works.
Yeah.
Suit me up.
Gotta look forward now.
Sticky and gooey.
All right, you guys, we're ready for a call. Go ahead and call him. And just make it a live call. We're going to keep the line open the entire time. Pick it up.
What are you most excited for tonight?
I want to see the results of the scans. And I think it's really cool that you randomly picked a nurse and a pilot, which are very interesting to me to see how their scans are before and after.
Put the one on the phone now.
And the wearable.
And the wearable.
A 5-minute phone call. So that.
I know, I do have to say, ever since I had this and the thing on my phone, just like it literally feels different now.
They just finished their scans and they're about to sit down with Dr. Dogres and our CEO, Josh Bruni, to go over the results. So we are all seeing it for the first time.
I want to be real clear. I'm a third-party scientist. I was approached by Aries Tech to evaluate this technology. I've been in the field of neuroscience for 35 years. I am the CEO and co-founder of Neurofield. We design and build EEG devices that are regulated and approved by the FDA. We wrote our software that measures the brain. And we've developed electromagnetic stimulation devices for the brain and the body. So I have an intimate knowledge of EMF from a number of different levels. I've been working with it for more than 20 years. And so when I first met Josh and we had that first filming, I came in blind, did this experiment that we did today, and I was truly astonished by the findings. What I want to show you is what's called a raw EEG plot. Now this is you, Hannah, and this is what you look like when you first walked in. Now this profile shows me a lot of fast wave activity, and this is the baseline, right? Now, when I looked at that, I thought, okay, well, I've seen this thousands of times, but then when we introduced the Aries product, this is what your brain did. Now, you see this tracing right there? I'm highlighting it. That's an alpha tracing. That's the brain taking a deep breath. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. It's what's supposed to happen. But it wasn't happening in your baseline. Throughout the entire 5-minute recording that we did, it didn't do it a single time. It didn't take a breath in 5 minutes. But when Aries was present, all of a sudden, we start to see the brain relax. Your brains appeared to have responded to that. Now that's a visual interpretation of the data. Let's look at the actual numbers. So we look at the brain in terms of different frequency bands. There's delta, theta, alpha, beta, high beta, and gamma. Delta is what you produce when you sleep typically, but you do produce it when you're awake. Theta is what you produce when you're waking up in the morning, you're half awake and half asleep, or when you meditate, or when you get stoned. There's a lot of different ways it could happen. But theta's a relaxing type of rhythm, okay? Alpha is your idling rhythm, okay? It's what you do when you're just sitting there relaxing, not doing anything, okay? Beta is your get busy rhythm, okay? That's what you do when you're focused on a task and you want to get something done. There's 3 subtypes of beta, beta 1, 2, and 3. And then there's high beta, which also is a kind of get it done rhythm. And then gamma. Gamma is kind of like the texture of the brain. It takes packets of information and transfers it from one part of the brain to the other. Some people have also talked about gamma in terms of a spiritual type of connection with things above you, okay, which is kind of cool. Now, what we do, the way we interpret this is you look at the colors here. These colors denote different power levels. If it's red, it's a higher power level. If it's blue, it's a lower power level. Now, what we see here, if you look at the betas, you can see on the left side, this brain map in the middle, these are when Aries is present, okay? The one on the left is when Aries is in your regular baseline. So as you started to wear the Aries product, what happened is that your left frontal lobe started to relax, right? And I think that's where we started to see that little alpha. And that's just in a matter of minutes. I would predict that if you wore the thing for a week or two and we measured you again, I bet we would see a more equal distribution of that power over time, right? And that's a really interesting finding. What do you think of that?
That's fascinating. I do move very quickly, so that reads true, but that's fascinating. How quickly it worked.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, the brain's adaptive, right? And so your brain and your heart can pick up energy around you, and when it senses it, it's gonna respond almost immediately. And power levels can change that quickly. I've seen it before. Now, when you have too much eyes open delta, that can create brain fog. It can create problems with concentration and focus and attention. It's gonna translate. I mean, it could impact your sleep. I mean, you could have insomnia. You could have significant problems going to sleep, staying asleep. It could impact your mood. If you run out of gas, you could flash to anger. You could be aggressive. It could create fear, which would translate into anxiety. It could create a lot of negative self-talk that would translate to depression, and negative ways about viewing oneself or thinking about oneself. I would think it could impact your self-esteem and your confidence. We evaluate ourselves all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so, depending on how you talk to yourself and how you've learned to talk to yourself, if that's something that just kind of goes up, most people aren't aware of how they beat themselves up or are not being conscious of that. And so, if that's running under the hood all the time, then you're going to be under attack or under siege. Just one more thing to show you. So on the left is the baseline. So the head maps on the left are the baseline. The ones in the middle are the post. Okay, so it's what happens pre to post. The ones on the right are the statistical comparison. If the electrode is colored in red, that means there was a significant change from pre to post. So we have some pretty significant change here. The ones on the right are the baseline versus no Aries present. Now, that's a big deal. Look at the frontal lobes closely here. You can see that the frontal lobes are activated to post. Actually, the whole brain is more activated when Aries isn't present as compared to when it is. Those numbers are dramatically different. And you see a lot of red dots in those little head maps there, which means that those numbers are not there by accident. When you measure the brain and you take 1 minute of data, we get 256 observations per second, all right, times 5 minutes. All right, so we basically have over 5,000 observations of the brain in a 5-minute recording. So when we crunch this data statistically, the power level is very high. And that's a good thing. That means that you can make an observation, and that observation has validity to it.
Yeah, she showed a sensitivity in a reaction, a response to that cell phone.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think what happened was that something changed, right?
Yeah.
There was a mitigation effect. And this is what we've observed before doing the same experiment over and over again. We've run this many times. And so this is what we observe. We observe this kind of change.
Let's talk about Garrett, because I got to fly home and I want to know what's going on with the pilots.
I know, me too. I was like, you're not flying my flight. No, okay.
Hannah, again, thank you so much for being a guinea pig and letting us peek at your brain.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so these are your maps. And the one on the left here is your baseline and versus no Aries present. Okay? The one on the right here is the baseline versus Aries present. This actually really concerns me. You should not hold a cell phone up to your head.
Okay.
Period.
All right. I'm glad I've been using speakerphone for a few
years.
years.
Why. So if you look at this delta map, he was holding the phone up to his right temporal lobe, right frontal lobe. And you can see here in his baseline state, the left frontal temporal area here is active. Okay, but after exposure to that phone with no Aries present, you can see this blue. It goes down to left temporal frontal on every one of these maps. That means his left hemisphere literally turned off. Power levels went down dramatically. The right side stayed activated, right? But your left frontal and temporal lobes went down power-wise. That's the part of your brain that engages in analytical control.
Make sure the FAA doesn't see
I was
this
about
video.
to say, it's like, are we clear for takeoff? Okay. Yeah, that's telling. If you see this here, this is when Aries is present. See the difference? Now we don't have your brain turning off. What happened was those power levels were pretty consistent and pretty even across both hemispheres. That's kind of a mic drop right there. That's pretty significant.
Well, you know, I came to be entertaining, but I'm also informative here on this. So, but fascinating, just like Hannah said.
You know, your heart had a significant response as well. So, this is what you look like when you walked in. Now, this little plot here, the green bar, you know, you can in the heart has basically 4 different kind of frequency bands. It generates really slow wave frequencies. It's part of the autonomic nervous system, which is broken down to the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. The sympathetic system is your get up and go, fight or flight. Parasympathetic is laying back in a hammock, relaxing, okay? Now, parasympathetic is represented by the green bar here. Sympathetic is represented by the yellow bar here. So when he walked in, he's calm. He's relaxed, right? Here's what happens when he holds a phone up to his head. See that? It flips. And that's not by accident. He wasn't doing anything. He's just sitting there. Were you hyperventilating?
Not in
Were
the
you
slightest.
moving? Were you being
No,
cajoled?
my
Were
whole
you being shocked or poked with little, things to elicit some kind of response to put you in sympathetic activation? No. However, I would guess that with your training, that you're probably sensitive enough to know when you're under attack. And that would be my guess here, is that when you held that thing up to your head, your brain had a significant power differential, and your heart responded in kind. Our heart's pretty smart. It knows when we're under threat. It knows when we walk into a room and there's bad energy, you'll feel it, right? And so it will switch gears automatically and go from parasympathetic to sympathetic, and then it informs the brain to do the same thing. Now, I know for a fact that your brain did respond appropriately when the Aries was present. It didn't power down. You didn't lose energy to the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is what you don't want to lose energy to when you're trying to do something. So that's a pretty significant response.
No, that's good. I want to make sure that we open it up for questions.
I'm just curious. So when you did use the Aries after, was it on the phone? Was it on their body, or was it around?
That's a good question. I wasn't in there, so I don't know. How did you guys do it?
We had one Aries device on the phone, the little one, which it's called the one, and then they were wearing a flex like this.
I don't think I had it on my phone though. We didn't end up.
You didn't have it on the phone. He did.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to the question that we get a lot is what's the difference between all of them? Really, the difference is the proximity to the source of radiation. The closer to the source, the smaller it can be. The further away, it needs more surface area to interact with the ambient and EMF that's in the environment. And then also the larger product that we have creates a larger response field that it has around it. And so that stable field that's created, which is what's happening, is just much larger. So that's the difference. It can be further away from the source, or further away from you as well.
I work in schools, the school system, but teaching wellness and different modalities to students throughout the school day. I wear the necklace one? Yeah, the flex. And they're always asking me, what is that? How would you describe it to a 5-year-old?
That is.
It's cool. That's what
yeah,
I would
no,
say.
that is. We talk about this a lot. I mean, I'm gonna not dodge the question, but I'm gonna set it up as best as I can. As someone who does marketing, I've done marketing my whole life. That's the question you always ask whenever you're doing a marketing strategy of how do you explain this to a 5-year-old, right? And it's difficult because you are talking about narrow fields of physics and biology and physiology, and then how those interplay. So it is difficult from the get-go. I mean, you see this being debated at the highest levels of academia. This is why the world can't decide if EMF is harmful or not. And so when it comes to a 5-year-old, I always am cautious of creating fear and that's something that I think a lot about, even in general, like in the broader public. That's not a good way to. I think it's good to inform, but also that's hard to do and not create some fear. With children, I tend to think of it as, man, this is tough.
I say it makes us healthier.
Yeah, I was gonna say healthier. I say healthier, happier, and Bobby and I I'm looking at Bobby and I'm like, Bobby, throw me some words. Because we were just talking about this. We were talking about mood, and we were talking about he has a soccer team. 9-year-old? 9-year-old?
Yeah, we were just talking about this yesterday. Why I work with Aries, and I wear this, and my son wears one, the smaller one. And one of the kids, we were in a car yesterday, one of the kids asked me, 9-year-old, what is this? And I had, right before the game. And I was like, what an amazing experiment for me to just try to explain to a 9-year-old in 1 minute what this is before a soccer game. And like that's the ongoing experiment we have. And the way I describe it is, like Josh says, that we're electric and it makes us function better and feel better. And that's all a 5-year-old knows.
I like that. Yeah,
I do too.
You know,
Okay, one more question.
As far as I understand, the phone system services is in gigahertz. And we talk about in 0 to 100 hertz. How is the interaction? Any layman explanation?
Yeah, that's a good question. And he was asking about hertz versus gigahertz. And if you're not familiar with what that means, I mean, there's the size difference of the wave is very different. So you're talking millimeter waves.
Speed.
And the speed. Yeah, so you're talking think of it this way. And hertz is meter, like a meter, like I don't even. It's large.
It's frequency, but gigahertz is frequency as well. You know, but you want to know the difference in terms of how.
I think he was saying is how does the interaction occur because of the difference of the spectrum that we're talking about in actual wave size and length.
What about regular EMF, which is 60 hertz? Is that the fact of the brain or?
Yeah, I mean, again, remember, if you look at what the phone is creating, it's fast, it's square wave, right? And the square wave is not, it's not normal for the body to experience that. But the spin is great enough to create heat, and it's great enough to create heat in the molecule. And that's not good for the molecule. It'll cause molecular death. So, any type of device like that, holding it up to your body that way can be detrimental. It's from the spin that creates the heat. That's the interaction. And then, that's why the brain is responding to it almost immediately. It detects it.
Does that answer your question there? Okay. Okay, I think we're good. Good,
All
we're
right.
out of time actually.
Woo.
But
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
So I'm curious, like now, having just sat through that, what your thoughts are.
I'm blown away for the fact being that having this on can literally fix your mood and slow you down. This is going to be huge because I never really shut down. And I've learned once you have this on, you're going to shut down a little bit.
I never thought about how EMFs affect your heart. So that's really interesting. I have a few people in my family with some heart issues. So it's really good to know. So I can share that information with them.
And I'm just looking forward to being better at my job and then being calmer at it. So you don't let emotions not that they get out of control often, but not letting them get the better of you, and you can keep a nice level head to work through whatever situation may present itself.
I'm excited to feel all the things. All the things. I want my headaches to go away from staring at the screen, and I'd like my sleep to improve a little bit. Even though I am a solid 95 score a night, I would like it to be like 98,
Mm-hmm. Just because productivity goes down when you're tired. You can't rest, or it's like if you're foggy brain, like just nothing's getting done. So I'm excited
excited about getting more work done, getting it done faster, having more time to rest, having more time to spend with family and loved ones.
So I do a lot of my days and work on the things that we see and can control, like what we eat, how we move, what time we go to bed, when we put our phone away, and we're really intentional with all of those things. But the appeal to me is that there's a lot of things we can't control, and EMFs are part of that. Wherever we go, with if we fly and visit our friends, if we want to text our friends, if we're at home watching TV, and so just having a product that's able to help us mitigate the effects of that is really impactful. And honestly, with kids that are going to grow up in a world where this is part of their developing brains, it just feels like a safety and kind of a no-brainer, because you can't do anything without your brain. So
I just felt maybe a little bit more energy, maybe a little bit more cleaner thinking wise.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know how to describe all the technology, but my sleep has been more consistent since I started using it.
This is the Aries effect. To learn more, visit ariestech.com.